First sailing project of my new channel has to do with sails. That seems appropriate, but it has to do with a project I'm working on right now. At the end of last season, a new sailor with a McGregor 25, around a 1990 model, ripped a hole in his mainsail. He didn't know what to do, being new to boat ownership and sailing. At the time, making a sailing channel never crossed my mind, but having the equipment and material to do the repair, I offered my services, mainly to help him to not become discouraged and possibly give up on the whole idea of owning a sailboat and learning to sail. This young fellow told me the hole appeared when he was taking the mainsail down. Not only was the sail damaged, but that a couple of battens came flying out through the air while the sail was flogging in the wind during lowering. Battens flying through the air, I remember, the first or second year I owned my Catalina 22. So I'm going to show you my ideas of how and why this all happened. One thing more. I'll be repeating this over and over again on my channel. If you are new to sailboat ownership, looking for a boat, and wanting to learn to sail, the terminology is the hardest part. Very few names come from anything you have ever done. So I suggest you look up sailing on the internet and study the language before boat ownership and learning how to sail. This is a sail off of a McGregor 25. And as the fellow was taking the sail down, he tore a big hole in this area. And I have now sewn a patch on the other side. I had to first remove the batten pocket. Now the second part of the story is when he was lowering the sail got to flogging. And as the sail was flogging, the batten that was in the pocket came flying out and went flying out in the water. And battens do not float. And I experienced the same thing that this fellow did the first or second year that I owned the Catalina 22. During a lowering of the sail got to flogging quite a bit, and it actually threw a couple of the battens out of the pocket into the water, and they were gone. So I had to come up with a new set of battens for in my mainsail. So I'm going to show you what's going on now that I have removed the back end of the batten pocket. Most people do not know that there is a piece of elastic sewn into the back of the pocket. This material stretches and adds pressure onto the back end of this batten, pushing it towards the leech. That forces it into the front edge of the pocket and holds it tight. Now, if you noticed here, the batten pocket is 1 inch wide, and this is about a little over a 1/2 inch wide. So it has plenty of room to slide back and forth. So I think what happened is that when this batten went back in here and slid back in the pocket, it came back, and because this material is not as wide as the batten pocket, it's only 2/3, it had room enough for the batten to slide past the elastic. So when it did that, it gave it room for this batten to slide back and forth. And because it didn't have any pressure pushing against this edge of the pocket, it became loose and basically flew out. Experimented and assumed, well, that batten, it only fits that pocket. It doesn't fit the full width. So looking at the marine stores for new battens, I found a batten which is the same width, but comes with end caps. And these end caps are glued on. You cut off the batten to the length you need and glue it on the end after the batten is made. And you can see that it's the full width of the batten pocket. So when it goes back in there, it cannot miss this elastic material. It has to catch hold of it. It cannot slip past. And if you look how this is crunched, you can see that the batten apparently went past it. That it was folded over like so when it went through there. So this will guarantee that it will catch that elastic material. Has a broader end on it, and then when it comes into this pocket, it has a better fit up here because it can't move very much sideways. So this was my solution approximately 27 or 28 years ago, or 29 years ago, and I have never lost a batten since. Once this is repaired, I'm going to purchase this for a new batten similar to this that will fit in here. Now, because I have this apart, I have new elastic material. I'm going to sew a new elastic into this pocket because this pocket now has to be stitched back over top of this patch. Up the leech to the very first reefing point, we have some damage. And it looks like it's not really tore from the pressure going this way, but it's hard to say because it's threaded right here. But right this spot right here tells me that it's not rubbing on anything because this is the leech. But if we look real close, we can see there's some fine pinholes around the outside perimeter. So it looks like there's a screw, the end of a screw sticking up maybe on the boom, so that when the sail is furled down onto the boom, something is punching through this and weaken the material in this area. Then on top of that, this is the batten pocket. So if we put this little narrow batten in here that can flop around in this direction, it goes underneath this tab. When the elastic pushes the batten back out, it fits in to this direction. So I can see from some discoloration right here that somebody had a problem with a batten, the previous owner. The owner of this sailboat, this is his was his very first ownership of the boat. New to sailing, so he wouldn't have a clue what was going on here. But apparently the previous owner used what is known as sail tape repair, which has a sticky backing. So this is a 2-inch width, but if we look at this, it looks like they lost a batten at one time and they put a piece of this material and stuck it on there, and it has now been removed. But the discoloration says that there was a sticky patch put on here to hold this batten in place. But if we take the batten and push it into the back end of the pocket next to the leech, hold this in position, look what happens when this batten is pushed backwards. It comes out through a hole back here. So I'm going to have to put a patch over top of this, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do here. When we look at the clue of this sail, we see damage. The bolt rope sewed into the foot of the sail is starting to separate. One layer of sail material goes around the rope and is sewn to each side of the foot of the sail. This bolt rope is then slid into a small channel in the boom to hold the sail's foot in place. The clue area is reinforced with many layers of sailcloth to help distribute a load of the sail placed on it by the wind. These 2 layers are not strong enough to handle the load from the sail's leech pulling straight up on the bolt rope. So I'm going to trim the end of the bolt rope large enough to add a reinforced sail slug just in from the outhaul grommet and attach it with the sail webbing to the many layers of the sailcloth at this location. The bolt rope at the head, or the very top of the sail, is pulled straight up by the halyard and not at 90 degrees like the pull of the clue. So the 2 layers of the cloth is still holding up. The bolt rope sewed into the luff of this sail is not inserted into the mast sail channel, but small slugs are attached to small grommets inside of the rope. These slugs are what hold the sail to the mast. Slugs are used by recreational sailors to allow the sail to slide up and down the mast without having to remove the sail from the mast channel every time you lower it. For racing, to make the sail much more aerodynamic, the bolt rope is inserted into the mast channel, then raised and pulled out of the mast when lowering. Slugs can be attached to the foot, but when lowering the sail, it is tied to the boom for storage, so slugs are not necessary. So what I come up with is to use this sticky sail repair tape. So I stuck it on the back side along the alignment with the pocket. And what I'm going to do is when I get this stuck down, then I'm going to re-stitch this across here and across here, but not across here so that the pocket stays open. And then just bring this up to the very end of this so that it's stuck on here. And it will be stitched back to this point and this point on this piece of material. But this pocket is separate. So in order to keep the batten from sticking in the glue, I've cut another piece of sail material and I'm going to stick over this just so it comes over the back side, and it has adhesive on it so it won't move. So that will be a double layer of sailcloth over top of this hole. I've cut a template, also the shape of this area here, to take care of this hole and reinforce this leech line that runs through here. And what I've done is I've cut it duplicate so it folds over and runs underneath. So it'll be a double layer here, a double layer here, stitched along here because it's made to fit along this edge and stitch right over top of this, as well as stitch along this reinforcement. I think this will be a double layer here to take care of any additional wear that might come to this spot if we can't find anything on the boom that is causing this. So we'll take this off of here. And lay that on there, and take this off of here, and then go ahead and fold this over tight. This is a backing material on top of the sailcloth. So then I will cut this along this edge right here. And then that sailcloth still allows this. This is the backing material. So it's stuck on here. And it's stuck out to the edge of this. So this is still open. And then this pocket is still open for the batten. But it has a double layer over that hole that was punched there. Okay, I am now finished with the sail. You can see the battens are all made up. All four in this sail. 3 of these happen to be exactly the same length, and this small one up it towards the head. So you can see that it's short of the pocket. But remember, there's elastic in here forcing this back out this way. So watch what happens. Goes in, it slides into the elastic, so now there's a force. So I have to force it in there, hold it with my finger, fitting in here tight. It's being pushed out. It's to this length, stretching the elastic about 3/4 of an inch, pushing out tight. Now to take this out, flop this down and out it comes so that the wind can't flog that like a flag. And you can see it. I added a telltale to the sail, helping to get the sail shape that's needed. You can see there was at one time the manufacturer put a telltale on. And there's supposed to be a telltale near every batten pocket. So here's the next batten pocket. The telltale, you can see where there was one there. And apparently I put 2 on it because I don't see one down here at the 3rd pocket. But I put the telltale in there. And clear down at the next to the boom or towards the foot, we have another one. And I put a telltale there also. So here we are, totally finished with this sail now.